Blog Talk Radio.
When I look at you, I know I want to be with you forever, baby. I love you. But I don't want to let you go either. So why don't we all make this work?
To be or not to be, baby, that was the question. Cause when we met, we was looking for a direction. Can't front, when I saw your body caught my attention. Not to mention, I was really looking for some affection. That was a section of my life on suspension. I was tossing shorties up like a sexual engine, fucking and Frenching, just like a dark henchman. But when she hit me with the bomb, it got me thinking. She suggested another potential sister and lover. And with this other in the covers, maybe we both a lover. And now, I'm thinking, damn, how soon? So we could all get a room and get down. But wait, should I debate what if shorty's a play? But if I hesitate, it might be too late. Should I contemplate and await the fate? If all this ice I should skate, let the pussy marry me and probably ever. There was another way to be, more than polygamy. There was another way to see, all that we could be. Instead of two, it was a three. But everything we see ain't what it appeared to be a polyamory.
I need you to have you in my life. Don't care what people say, I'll be your otherwise.
About 3 months later was as long as she could wait her. She told me about this girl that she knew from Jamaica with some nice firm titties and with very little makeup. We all had dinner, started hanging out for later. But maybe I should date her first myself, collect the data. The thought of being with both at once outdated my rational perception of the sequence of events. I really didn't care about the secrets or pretend. To make a long story short, it came down to one night that we was talking on a tree, all feeling alright. One buckle my pants, the other started to dance. What was giving me head, vaginas full of my hands. The sex was sticky and wet. They started sucking their breath, one position to the next. When we finally fell asleep, I was looking at the dawn, thinking, damn, this shit was really long. Polyamory, it was another way to be, more than polygamy. It was another way to see, all that we could be. Instead of two, it was a three. But everything we see ain't what it appeared to be a polyamory.
I need you to have you in my life. Don't care what people say, I'll be your otherwise.
See, be careful what you wish for, you just might get it. I had no idea what this relationship was headed. I really didn't care, so as both of them was there. Thought that we was building something cause they bodies they share. Intimately liaisons, the sex amazon. But they both was keeping secrets like a larger mason. They're beating with one another while using me as the other. I was the envy of my brothers, but they started to smother. See, it wanted me to choose, either way I would lose. Lies come in many hues, but ugliness rules. So in the end, I had to stop cause the other shoe dropped. So I had to clean up the spot like a janitor's mop. But hey, I can't complain, there was no shame on my game. Doing the through to maintain, but who's coming to came the aim of the game is to say what you mean. But even do what you feel, but make sure you keep it real and polyamory. It was another way to be, more than polygamy. It was another way to see, all that we could be. Instead of two, it was a three. But everything we see ain't what it appeared to be a polyamory.
I need you to have you in my life. Don't care what people say, I'll be your otherwise. I need you to have you in my life. Don't care what people say, I'll be your otherwise. Just see me for you, even if she's with you, you should be with me too. You know that I don't care, even when people stare. Your love's so good, I swear. Do it, baby.
Peace. Hello, everybody. What's going on? You're now tuned into Super Heru Radio, coming at you live. I'm aseer the Duper with my brother, side by side. What's up, homie?
What's going on, King?
Alright. What you just heard was a joint done by myself. It's on an album called The Birth Record, myself and the Empathy 10,000 Years. It's called Poly Am or We. Joint produced by a great producer, racist sister named Chai Phoenix. She got an album out now called Half Woman, Half Amazing. Y'all should check it out. It's dope. It's not on that Barbie shit. So with that, I want to say peace to the human families of the planet Earth. you know, we doing it again, y'all. We definitely, so much is going on, man. It's like one thing to the next, on to the next one, you know.
Yeah.
How you been, man?
I'm good. The weather's definitely been on the up and up out here, so, it's a blessing to go outside, get some sun, get some vitamin D, recharge that melanin after all these months of, cold weather and all that BS. But, looking better now out here.
That's great. They took the ceiling out of the sky on y'all niggas up there.
Yeah, finally.
Keep the canopy up on y'all niggas. Put the hard top up. That's what we. Selena call it the hard top. You know how they do. You know.
Yeah, they took the hard top down for a little bit.
That's good. That's good, man. I guess they need the sun too, man. You know. So I don't even know where to start, man. So much crazy shit. Well, first, big up to the listener that emailed me the morning of the plane crash. Excuse me, wink, wink, plane crash that down in Poland. Excuse me, Polonia. People that remember listening to the show, we had talked about when we get into some of the hard stuff that we're doing, to look out for any type of assassination going on in Eastern Europe based upon what's going on in the EU right now. For those that don't know, the EU is the so-called European Union, the propagators of another fictitious form of currency called the euro that is illegal for Americans to use in America, but whatever. And they basically, the listener basically let us know, or gave me the heads up that morning. As soon as I woke up, it was like the first email I got. Then I turned on the TV and I started watching the bullshit that they, the spin on it. I started seeing some definite similarities to what happened to these guys, as well as what happened to Poland around the time of WW2. Before we do that, though, let's, give our shade to all of those that was died and killed and, didn't know that their time was now, who passed away in that disaster, as well as all of the other disasters that's going on that they're not really even telling everybody about, so we say our shade to them. But what I did the knowledge to, though, was that not only was it the Polish Prime Minister, but it was him, members of the elite in the Polish government. So you had members of church, state, and industry all in the same thing. And they hit everybody at once.
Mm-hmm.
So based on that, yeah. So when I did the knowledge to that, I was like, what I did the knowledge to was that they were on their way to celebrate the 70th anniversary of the slaughter of the Polish people at the hands of the Russians. You know what I'm saying? Specifically the KGB. For those people that don't know what the KGB is, that was the Cold War equivalent to CIA and everything else. They were on their way to do that, and one of the first things they said about it on a plane was, on the news, was that it was an aging Russian-built plane. So when they said that, aging Russian-built, that sounded to me like a hit. I don't know what anybody else.
Yeah.
Because, the U.S. is not really going to hit them, because the guy that was on the plane, the prime minister or whatever, he's a staunch U.S. advocate, to the point where he committed Polonia's army into Iraq, when a lot of other countries wasn't doing it, which is crazy, because Poland only was recently able to get an army after Russia fell. You see, so basically the United States was basically prepping Polonia to be what Georgia was to the United States, which was a beachhead for them to set up ballistic missiles that would be closer into the interior of the Russian territory. Also, the Polonian government were the ones who were debating on whether or not they were going to sign into the EU Constitution. That technically would be a constitution that governs all of Europe. The Polish people and the Irish people were against it. So it's funny that the Russian guy decided that this was, they needed to get rid of him, or Putin and them decided, or whatever, they needed to get rid of these guys because they need that thing to go through, because technically it's a war between NATO, you know what I'm saying, or members of what they call NATO nations against the so-called hard right, So, in essence, it was another hit, the same way they hit Ron Brown, the same way they hit, there was another guy, plane crash. So many, so many. We can't even list them all here. But you'll never hear about Air Force One going down and killing everybody in one fell swoop. You'll never hear about that. And then they use terms like human error. Again, you got to go back to doublespeak 101. Whenever they say human error, what they're talking about is sabotage. That's the code word for that. It's like when they say reality policy making, they're talking about regulator pistol 9mm, or when they talk about fresh new voices or new way of thinking, they talk about massacring all the witnesses. Like there's a way that these guys talk that we as people, regular so-called the citizenry, think that they talking and using the same words that we do, but they're not. So again, respect to the dead in Poland. But didn't you tell me that this dude got a twin brother?
Yeah. The Polish president has a twin brother. Led the warrior procession.
The president of Poland, the guy that got killed, got a twin brother, but he wasn't on the plane.
Yeah, he wasn't on the plane. He was in Poland. He was back in Poland with the prime minister.
So he was the only nigga who wasn't really down with the government or whatever, who wasn't on the plane. Okay. Okay. Now, what we need to do, people need to do the diligence on this, is to look into who he is and what his stance on the whole EU joining thing is about. Because if he is totally going to be about the opposite, then you know that he probably, maybe he knew something. Yeah, maybe a little bird told him, maybe you should catch the next flight, homie.
Watch out for the winner.
Oh, you stupid. Yeah, essentially, well, we also have to do the knowledge that as we are now all basically under what they would call the umbrella of Obamunism. That's another word I'm coining. You know what I mean? Obamunism, as we getting closer to this Obamatopia that this guy is trying to set up, which translates to death culture. You got to understand that disaster capitalism is a lucrative form of money making, has a lucrative form of money making potential. Disaster capitalism, basically, again, is when you use humanitarian aid as a means to destroy a system and then build back up the infrastructure with communist capitalist mind state. Companies that are notorious for this are companies like Halliburton. There's another company called Bechtel, Bechdtel. And if you look at the logo for this company, it's a picture of the world, right? And the word Bechtel is like stamped over it. But on the world, all of the oceans is like blood red. You know what I'm saying? So they letting you know what type of agenda they on just by that. But these are two of the biggest companies that invest in things like what we're talking about in terms of disaster capitalism. Or speaking of which, there's you heard about the police in America. This is more domestic news, I guess. Oh, well, before we get to that, everybody heard about the mining thing, I'm sure. All of the miners getting crushed by the rocks and all that other. Yet there's a connection to what happened to the miners and what's going on in a place called the King Trump. Another listener, big up to you. They sent us an email and they were asking us to build on what happened in the Cayman Islands, off the reef of the Cayman Islands. Basically, what happened was they found the deepest point in the world in terms of water. It's a place called the Cayman Trough, right? And they talked about it in that movie, The Abyss.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's the deepest water hole that you could find in the world, right? And what happened was there was a certain shift based on a lot of the other tectonics that's going on, and that shift basically caused this, what they call a volcanic vent, to open up, which then revealed the Cayman Trough, how deep it really is. They say it's so deep that that there's other forms of life inside of it that they can't, that they want to start to do the knowledge to, but the water's so hot around it they can't really pop it. What happened was they hit it. They were experimenting because these dudes is always looking for somewhere else to go. They karma. So they detonated a low-yield nuke around that area, and it opened up that vent. But that vent, when you do the knowledge to the meridian, is on the same meridian line, or what they would call ley line of West Virginia, where the mine went down. So it's like they hit it up here, and then they collapsed the mine on all of them people that was inside the thing. This ain't the first time they did that either. But this is the first time they got caught. You know what I'm saying? Which is why as soon as the mine thing happened, the first person to come out to say something about it was Obama. You know what I'm saying? You got to look like the good shepherd, make sure everybody's good. The only deeper part, the deepest land hole equivalent to that is another place called Challenger Deep. That's the deepest point on land. This is the deepest hole allegedly on land that you could find. But this is not to also talk about the hole at the top of the world that allegedly was it Commodore Perry or Admiral Byrd? I think it was Admiral Byrd who was flying or sailing or whatever, and he came across this giant hole that allegedly goes, that's at the top of what they call the North Pole, which right now is actually the South Pole. So, that's what's up with that. That was a connection with the landmine, at least, which again, condolences to those people who lost their lives in that, because the government is definitely not going to tell you the truth as to what death y'all people died, In domestic news, though, coincidentally, right when that happened, the last Munchkin alive from the Wizard of Oz wound up dying. I thought that was interesting, too. Anybody who don't know the story of Wizard of Oz, you need to go get the real... a guy named Fritz Sprigmeyer did a great book on great bust down of the Wizard of Oz. Those people who are into the whole chargeback thing, all that, if you get cracking the code, anywhere between the first and the fourth edition, or first and the third edition, they have a good bust down on what Wizard of Oz is really about. But essentially, if you get the movie, there's a scene in it where people don't know that the people who filmed Wizard of Oz, the stars in them was basically treated like slaves, like slave labor, to the point they were literally whipping some of these people, with whips and shit. To the point where one of the Munchkins hung himself in the film, and they left it in the film. If you type in on YouTube, Munchkin hangs himself in Wizard of Oz, you'll see the clip. And, he died the same day that the whole thing happened in Poland, as well as which happened right after the mine thing. And then, what else? There was something real good I wanted to tell you. Oh, yes. Elizabeth Taylor is marrying another black dude who was Michael Jackson's manager. This allegedly is her 40th time getting married.
Really?
No, I'm sorry, 43. E43. This is her 7th time down the aisle, I think. This chick can't even talk, can't get out of a wheelchair, nothing, but she could keep a man. This lets you know. I don't know, like y'all, you know, women of childbearing age, you know, beautiful black women, you know, you got to really watch out. These old cancer-ridden arthritic chicks is moving in on your prospects. You know, coincidentally, his doctor was Conrad Murray too.
Really?
Yeah. So, you know, people could start investigating that. Holler at us, let us know what you come up with. But there's definitely connections within that. Also, speaking of black chicks who play themselves and get with these white boys, Stacey Dash just came out and talked about how she was getting her ass whipped by this white boy for the entirety of her marriage.
Mm-hmm.
You know, then she went on to say that the other 2 white boys she married did the same thing. Then Gabrielle Bouvet, a.k.a. Fancy from Jamie Foxx, came out and basically said that her husband was carrying on a 6-year affair in their 7-year marriage. Oh, man. He pulled a Sean Stockton. People don't know the dude from Boys to Men. He was married to a shorty for 5 years and was carrying on an affair. No, he's married to a shorty for 6 years, carrying an affair with a shorty for 5. So these niggas be really hedging their bets. You know what I'm saying? You know, and, you know, when I heard about it, there was a part of me that was really tickled because, you know, these are the chicks that go all out, that love, you know, flaunting they behind and they body in front of all these black men and all that. I would be desirable, always in a rap video, but then you go home to, you know, Snow White. You know, thinking he can do no wrong, and here he is pulling the Jesse James on these dudes. You know, it's great. It's really, really great. It really shows that, you know, just when you think, black women, that these white guys is here for you, don't listen to them old rickety black chicks that's telling you run out and go get you a white man. Just like Paul Mooney said, he go to sleep, that dude will be there with some measuring tape measuring you. He'll be doing it. You know. But again, these are children. Look at Stacey Dash. She grew up in that whole, what was that? Clueless?
Mm-hmm.
Right? That whole Clueless thing, you know, which again was the whole Valley girl, you know, I'm the cute black girlfriend, all, you know, supporting character for a little white girl. So she grew up in that whole thing. So she don't really have no real sense of herself. And that's what I want to say, too, to the people. Like, when we talk about these people like that, I'm not even really talking about them as, you know, people or whatever, because really what they more are is, what they really are more than anything are archetypes for you to pattern your life after. So when one of those archetypes goes awry, I really get happy, because what it means is that the mind control is breaking down. You know, to the point now she's talking about getting with Jamie Foxx, who just got outed by Howard Stern being homosexual. So, I mean, come on, man. Y'all didn't realize he was dressing up like a woman, you know? Like, I didn't know.
Have sex with Prince.
Yeah, somebody had sex with Prince, Lenny Kravitz, you know, a lot of that type of stuff. But again, my thing is, if that's what you want to do that. My thing is, these people are being used to be examples for our people to model ourselves after. And because our people, for whatever reason, feel like we need leaders or role models to galvanize us to do things, you know. A lot of us are susceptible to that form of programming, you know, which really is a form of post-hypnotic suggestion, you know, based on visualization. Speaking of post-hypnotic suggestion, Russell Simmons is now sponsoring a peacekeeping organization that will basically start protecting the hood from the people in the hood. You heard about this?
Nah.
Funding, yeah, him and Doomberg is putting money up so they could. It's almost gonna be like some fake guardian angel shit, but these dudes will have the right to shoot. Yeah, the sleeper type shit. Yeah. Only thing is that what people are not doing a nod to is that most of the areas that are being targeted for these so-called peacekeeping organization, one in the ghetto, and two, are being funded also by real estate companies.
Mm-hmm.
That
Get niggas out of there in one fell swoop. Clean it up and get niggas out at the same time.
Exactly. You know?
I thought he was running around being a twin.
Say again?
I thought he was running around with his twin. Blood down the Rusty.
Yeah. And I also see the picture of him with Doomberg was dressed up like a roster with like a fake dread hat with locks in it.
Really?
You know, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what party that was. But it was recent too. You know. So, I mean, they have all their little rituals or whatever. Also, there was a ceremonial funeral held for Harlem as the dead black capital of the world. Mm-hmm. They're saying that native-born original people who reside in Harlem are basically now the minority. They said the new majority in Harlem are African-born blacks, Caucasians, Hispanics from Spanish Harlem. So, again, the brothers let it go. You know, thanks, Wrangle. Thanks, Percy Second. You know, thanks, what was that chick's name? So many of these bastards, just. You know, thanks for helping, you know, destroy the legacy that that only took maybe 150 years to build, maybe?
Yeah.
Good looking.
So many big
all of that. But then again, the whole Harlem Renaissance thing was set up through the so-called Boule working in tandem with people in the so-called government to basically take all the original people's attention away from the Garveyite movement. The whole talented tenth thing, the whole distinguished gentleman thing, the whole W.E. Du Bois, Booker T. Washington, Langston Hughes, all of that stuff was set up. Madam C.J. Walker, you know. Mm-hmm. Now, we're not saying that these people weren't talented people. We're not saying that, you know, they promoted so-called images of us that I guess we were going to call it positive. I guess they were positive, right? I guess. But either way, I don't really see anything, you know, I don't see anything that has really come from that. I mean, let's really do the analysis. Madam C.J. Walker, what did she do? She created the straightening comb, bleaching cream, what else? The hot comb, the concholine for the men. So basically, she made millions of dollars off of getting us to turn ourselves into something we're not. So essentially, we can look at her as one of the prime. She was the Oprah of her day.
Mm-hmm.
You know. By the way, they came out with a exposing book of Oprah called unauthorized by it's called Oprah by a woman named Kitty Kelly or something like that. Some old Illuminati chick that is airing her out. But the way that you know it's some real shit in this book, nobody in mainstream media is trying to get her on the TV to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Not even David Letterman, who hates this chick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he hates Oprah, but he's like, nah, I can't even have you on here talking about that. One of the reasons why is because in the book, Kitty Kelly basically talks about the fact that, the guy or the people that allegedly molested Oprah, her so-called father or whatever, is not really her real father.
Oh.
That's not the top. She said that Oprah doesn't really know who her real father is because she doesn't know. But the white woman said, but I know who it is, but I've been sworn to secrecy. Her aunt. She said I interviewed her aunt, who lived in a real rural town in the sticks in Mississippi, and she revealed to me who exactly he was. But from that point, I was sworn to secrecy. Coincidentally, right after that, the aunt wound up dead. You know what I'm saying? This is what I'm hearing. This is what I just read on the thing just now. It says that the aunt is now, like, even though she's not dead, she's basically on her way, on the deathbed type shit. But, I mean, anybody who look at Oprah, if you really are somebody of some type of, you know, spirituality, you could look at her and know who a real pops is. We talked about it on the Controversies and Cover Stories DVD we did. And it's very obvious. But it's almost so obvious I want to kind of see if people, you know, how about that? How about we drop it next week as to who the pops is, but this week everybody do the nods to it and give us your emails and you know, let us know what you think.
Yeah.
And anybody who gets the right answer will announce it with some a CD from a star and a DVD from us. Anybody that gets it right when you email me, you know, email us at Super Radio or houseofl@hotmail.com. And if you get it right, we'll send it out to you. But we'll reveal it next week. It's very obvious.
Yep.
Very, very, very obvious.
And those who got that DVD got a kind of a heads up.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Doesn't get it. You know. But we built on that. I'm just bugging at the chick. Put it out there.
Yeah, put it out there. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. When you started saying it, the first thing that came to my mind was the joint. Because I remember when you was, you know, bringing forth the information, and now to have somebody else, you know,
remember?
Basically building on that same thing. It's like, okay.
Exactly. Yeah. So we got to really start doing acknowledge that the people that are on TV, the people that are placed in your immediate vicinity, sometimes most of these people are there to direct your consciousness to a certain agenda. And that's just what it is. It's not that way because we're saying it's that way. I'm saying it because that's how it is. Mm-hmm. Everybody knows what's going on in this country, man. The problem with the whole game to me now is that everything is so obvious. Everybody's getting exposed. It's like you got to be crazy to think you could be telling lies to these people and thinking that you're not going to get caught out there. This is not the time to do that, man.
Very true. And apparently Oprah's getting into late night talk. She's like starting a late night talk show or something like that, man.
Exactly. You know what I mean? It's like we got to get to a point where we know what is going on and we stop taking for granted that we are just ordinary people who don't know which way to go and all of the other BS mantras they have to dummy down the universal populace because this is getting ridiculous now, you know. What's his name? Michael Steele getting raked over the coals by the Republican Party for saying that there's a different standard for black men than it is for Caucasian people in the Republican Party, like the Republicans don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But what the white dudes, or what the Caucasoids do is they create a whole another form called the race card, that now if you mention any type of their own racism, they will be belligerent towards you. You know what I'm saying? Or they make it seem like because you bring in a race in a situation that they're being racist in, that you don't have a point.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that's another form of control, mind control, you know. It's really sad, you know. Mm-hmm. Yo, did you see that shit with Carmelo Anthony passing out on the floor? And
they didn't stop playing.
What's up with that, yo? Like, they have no respect, man.
That's like, you know, they look at those people like chattel, like you got, you know, racing and all that type of stuff. Like basketball, baseball, football, you're a commodity. You know, some players with their commodity, they don't care. Like I just seen the other day, dude, not too long ago, maybe I think last week, a dude straight broke his arm on the court, and the same thing happened. They kept on playing. You know, his arm is broken like 3 places.
You know? That's horrible, man.
And it's
That's horrible,
you know what I'm saying? You know, as quiet as that, You know, I'm pretty sure some people that play sports or whatever will notice, like, when you start going to, like, you play college basketball and whatnot, you know, you got to go and have like a system and whatnot, and they check you the way they check up like a racehorse. They look at your teeth. You know, you gotta get completely naked. They check you for STDs, all these types of things. They don't look at you like a human. They look at you like a commodity. That main function of those people is to play sports. You know, dudes having surgeries, like, and that's why some, you know what I mean, the underlying secret with professional sports is, number one, you know what I'm saying, their after hours activities is crazy, you know what I mean, as far as like the gambling and the sex and the drugs is concerned, you know what I'm saying. But number two is, after these people, you know, do these things, you know, play these sports for all these years, when they retire, when they finally retire, their bodies be destroyed. You know, the majority of them die, you know what I'm saying, within their 40s. And I'm not talking about the prominent people that you know, but think about how many people play sports. Think about how many people play basketball besides Michael Jordan. You know what I'm saying? Like, and Michael Jordan's tenure of being in the NBA. You know how many of the people is dead now? Dead in their late 30s, dead in their 40s, dead in their early 50s. And what? So many of those people is dead, or if not, you know, physically dead, but, you know what I'm saying, emotionally and dead in the fact that, you know, they living in rat holes, and, you know what I'm saying, they can't pay their rent. Some of them, it was a brother, he was on TV crying. He played in the NFL for 5 years. And he was on TV crying, saying that, you know, he just had a beautiful daughter, and he's afraid to pick her up because, you know, he can't hold up the weight of his daughter anymore. And he only played in the NFL for 5 years. This guy's, he was 32 in a wheelchair. He could walk, but his legs were so beaten and battered from playing football, he was, you know what I'm saying, he can't even, like, take more than 10 steps without falling over. You know, so I'm not shocked when I see things like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, for the NBA and whatnot, that's just, you know, that's just how the cookie crumbles, so to speak. They'll get this, you know what I'm saying, they'll draft up another young buck, another, you know, Carmelo, LeBron James up in there, and, you know, ride him to the promised land. Thanks, David Stern, I guess, the people. Oh. I think the brother's phone, you know. Can the people hear me? Hello? Hello? Okay. There's some technical difficulties. I think the brother, the Duke, something's up with his phone. All right. We'll see if we get him back. See if we can get the Duke back.
Sorry, y'all. Technical difficulties is how it be. Hopefully you'll be able to call back in. But the NOPD, meaning the New Orleans Police, have indicted a guy named Michael Lohman. Michael Lohman, he and several several other people were convicted of killing men, women, and children, shooting them as they were trying to escape the levee bursting over the Danziger Bridge. And then on top of that, the guy covered it up to the point that they were shooting at so many people and killing so many people that when the guy came back down, like he shot them on the bridge, he ran down off the bridge, down into the banks, and then started shooting the people that was running for cover. This is the type of thing that's going down, you know what I mean? And he killed a lot of people, and he's only going to get 8 years for that. You know what I'm saying? So, again, man, we have to understand that in every society there is the predators and there's the prey. We all have to figure out which side or which one of those things we are, because sometimes we play both. Sometimes we play one or the other. But no matter who or what, when you're an original person in this world, and this, especially in this place that we call so-called the United States of America, you are the prey. And you are basically the fuel or the backbone of what it is they're trying to bring forth, which is, again, a totally desensitized, totally morally bankrupt society that will have no choice but to be totalitarianly controlled, you know what I mean, in the end, based on everybody's savage behavior. But how did everybody get this way? When did all of these things start? When did all of these rumors about there's no such thing as a good black men are endangered, black women are the backbone of everything, a woman can do nothing wrong, you know, children should be seen and not heard. When did all of these things start? Who started them? It wasn't us. It was here, and we were kind of born into this thing. So now that we're all here in this cesspool, we got to work together to get ourselves out of it. And a lot of us, because we come from different sects and different mind states and different thoughts, we think that, you know, that makes us better, or we're a step above or ahead of everyone else. When really consciousness, those people who really focus on consciousness know that consciousness is not the end or be all to it. You know, awareness, being aware of the things around you, is what allows your consciousness to turn into knowledge. And that knowledge will then make you wise in your situation, which will help you understand or overstand how to get up out of it. However, you know, none of that really matters because, you know, you got your president about to go on American Idol. You know what I'm saying?
For real?
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, him and his wife, they're going on American Idol. Since when you ever know a president to do TV shows, man? While he was in office. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not something, that's not real. That's like when he did the Jay Leno show. You know? Like, that's cool when you campaigning, but once you become president, you doing a TV show, nigga, like, there's so much other things in the world going on. You got time to go on Jay Leno. And for those that don't know, every talk show host has their specific speciality. Jay Leno's couch is used, Oprah's couch is used to spring things on the global populace. Jay Leno's couch is to, when you've done something bad, for you to go on his couch and then kind of confess to the world what happened, like what happened with Hugh Grant, like what happened with Kanye West, like what happened when the other guy, there was another guy who went on the show. Mad people go on the show to confess. David Letterman's show is kind of like the bridge between the Oprah thing and the Jay thing. See what I'm saying? So those three couches symbolically represent three thrones, or the three thrones of the so-called Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost in their so-called religion. Because when we talk about the so-called elites and these people, we're dealing with them from the perspective that they are an order, and really that whole thing is like a religion. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
How do you want to do that? You know, coincident, and then to a footnote to that, Saint Lathan just came out and said she don't want to do no black roles no more. She don't want to do roles specifically for black women.
Really?
Yeah. But what's the difference between what I just said first and that? Nothing. She don't want to do roles that they specifically create for black women. Why? Because she knows that those roles for black women are ceremonial roles that are used to promote an agenda. And she don't want to be a part of a black agenda no more. And that's her prerogative to do so, because she comes from a family, a Boulay family, the Lathams and all of that. And that's cool. That's her prerogative. However, instead of it being some shit where people can say, yeah, we can do it, where people could say, well, you know what? I don't want to be portraying these roles no more. Why don't all of us in Hollywood that's black get together? The same way you have a black actor guild and all this bullshit. Why don't we all get together and then create something for ourselves, our own type of Hollywood? The Indians did it. The Japanese did it. The Chinese did it. Everybody did it. The Africans even doing it. The only people that don't have their own film work companies and things like that for their own images is who? The so-called American-born blacks. And that's okay. But that's how you know all these niggas are on the tape. You know what I'm saying? The only time that brothers got together to try to do something like that was the whole distributing company that shows J Prince, Raymond Dash, and what's his name was going to do until Jay-Z dined them out. You know, and a lot of people wind up dead behind that. You know, a lot of ritual killers came out of that whole deal. You know? So you got to watch out. Tennessee passed behind that. Aaliyah passed behind that. Tupac passed behind that. And I'm trying to remember the other guy who was down with it. But his artist wanted him dead too. I had to come through. And then there's something else that went down too. I'm looking over something else that I wrote about it. The Polish thing, the tax of capitalism, the Wizard of Oz. Nicki Minaj is no longer under the management she's under. She's now under Lady Gaga's management. So all y'all people who are sick of her now, get ready, because they're about to totally go in on the Black Barbie Gaga gay shit hard. You're about to be assaulted. You're about to be visually assaulted with a lot of buggery. Okay, but this whole thing goes back to a beef, goes back to some hip-hop so-called beef, which is really some political shit. Because really what this is about is really something that's going on between two camps, you know what I mean? Those people that know about the whole Young Jeezy BMG thing, everybody that knows about the Black Mafia thing, people would know that a lot of those affiliates were the people behind the rise of people like Gucci Mane or Young Jeezy or whatever. So what is going on essentially is just that. The way it went down, or the way I got the word, was this. They created a situation like this. Jeezy, who at the time was against Gucci Mane, you know what I mean, was backed by a group of brothers that was involved in some so-called illegal things, allegedly, right? Gucci Mane on the same side was the same situation. Only thing is, at the time, Jeezy had more people behind him. But at the time, he was looking to get out the game, so he wound up hooking up with Def Jam dude Jay-Z. Once he hooked up with him and they worked their thing out, that's when, you know, he got under the umbrella, wink, wink, and he was able to move up. But in order to move up, he had to get rid of that old burden. That old burden was these dudes. These dudes basically had to all wind up getting indicted. Everybody got indicted except Jeezy. So Gucci, who was coming up in the hood, was looking to come up. So when the people backing him decided that they was going to flip the money the other way and put it back into something positive, like Gucci Mane or the 1017 Brick Squad, right? They start moving that and start moving units through him to the point that he started surpassing Jeezy. That's why if you do the knowledge, Jeezy was the snowman, right? Gucci is the Iceman. See what I'm saying? Got to a point where Gucci got so big that it threatened Jeezy's cred. So when they did the whole record thing, that whole beef, when you watch the Beef show and they talk about the record and all that, that was the smoke screen. What was really going down was he was dealing with two warring factions that was both trying to get clean through the music industry. But because you got gatekeepers in the thing now that work for the Rockefeller wing thing, they basically came in and flipped the deal. So coincidentally, when all of these guys go to jail, Jeezy winds up 17.5 million records, right? Mm-hmm. Then after that, Gucci came up and made his rise all by doing the work, grassroots in the hood. So then it got to the point where Gucci started basically making records about what was really going down with that and how this dude was snitching. And then it got to a point where Jeezy put a contract out on him, in which three guys, he put $10,000 bounty on Gucci chain. People, some stripper heard it or whatever, and allegedly the story is he came to the crib and then they started busting at him, and he wound up shooting two of the dudes trying to rob him. Two of those dudes were artists under Corporate Thugs Entertainment that worked for Young Jeezy. See what I'm saying? Two of the dudes that got clapped. Just like in the Puffy Suge Knight thing, two of Suge people got clapped. You know what I'm saying? Allegedly by Puffy people, because it's the same ritual. So essentially they created this ultimate beef riff that on the surface looked like it was about a record, but behind the scenes it was about millions of dollars in drug money that may or may not be involved with the federal government, because you know who pumped who brought crack and all that to the hood, you know. So long story short, Gucci come out with a mixtape called, Jay-Z gets word that Gucci coming out with a record called the Bird Print, going in on Jay-Z, you know what I'm saying? And he came out with the first single. The joint said, he said, first of all, Jay-Z, the greatest rapper in the world. That's a goddamn lie. Right after Gucci say that, I go on Gossip and I see the next week Jay-Z is in the White House with Trey Songz and a bunch of other bootleg niggas, you know what I'm saying, in the White House with Trey Songz or whatever, building. Mm-hmm. The day after that, Gucci wound up in jail again. See what I'm saying? So, again, if you don't believe me, if people don't believe me, you don't have to. Do the research yourself. I ain't got no reason to lie, because these niggas ain't giving us no money. You know what I'm saying? And you know, they ain't putting no records out of ours, so I ain't no love lost, you know. Our job is to show the people what's going on, not only behind the scenes, but under and in the scene. You know what I'm saying? Because these niggas ain't going to tell you. If you waiting for these dudes to make a record about it, you know, or do a TV thing about it, you're going to be out. Word, don't hold your breath. It's a wrap. You know? So that's that with that. Oh, getting back to the tie-in with Nicki Minaj. The thing is, with Nicki Minaj is that she, at the time, was under Gucci Mane's management. So recently, who is also Waka Flocka Flame's mother, okay? Waka Flocka Flame's mother is Gucci Mane and Nicki Minaj's, or was, manager. Nicki Minaj was supposed to get on the Rihanna tour, but Rihanna basically went in on her and was like, no, I'm the headliner, there can only be one, and basically pulled that whole reptilian card on her, like, nah, I ain't feeling you, you know? But really, remember who put her on? The Rain Man, a.k.a., you know, Hov, a.k.a. Young Hov, a.k.a. The hip-hop Antichrist, a.k.a. Young, the other entity, a.k.a. Beyonce handler. You know what I'm saying?
A.k.a. Illuminati Gotti.
Exactly, Illuminati Hov. Illuminati Hov, or a.k.a. No Camel. Those, and again, these are all the entities that exist in these guys.
William Holla. Remember that one?
Yeah, William Holla. I remember that. And he was also Jigga Man.
Yeah, Jigga Man. Jigga my nigga.
Yep, Jigga my nigga, yep. Mad aliases for the same person. But anyway, what I think went down was that he told Homegirl, you're not going to, I don't want this chick to be on your joint, because then that means that the song that she got with Gucci, they're going to be on the tour with you. The same niggas that we helped set up, locked up, going to be on the same tour, because remember, the hard record she got Jeezy on it. You know what I'm saying? And Jeezy pulled the Jay-Z when it came to Jay-Z and Nas when he made friends with Gucci, because that's all the G. That's all, if anything happened to Gucci, he don't look like the main suspect. You know? But again, these are all our suppositions based on all this cultudgery that these dudes is in. Which then shows you that it's never about the music. The music is just a mask, yo. These people don't care about that. These people don't care about the songs that they make and how it's affecting their children. You think Rihanna give a damn about, they came out against the movie Kick-Ass because a little girl in there cursed a lot. But how is that any different than Rihanna talking about, can you get it up? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? You got little kids, little girls singing that.
Yeah.
But then when I look at her concerts, what do I see? I see mothers and their daughters. You know what I'm saying? Whole families out watching this tramp, man. And again, I don't know the girl. I don't know none of these people personally. But I don't need to know them, because what I see, I go by their works. And I'm in the hood, just like the brothers in the hood. We seeing these people, looking at these people, and trying to emulate this, man. You know? So, henceforth, to put a bow in it, Nicki just put out a statement saying that she is not going to be with Gucci. She's not going to be with Gucci's management no more.
So now she dropped that. And she running with Gaga.
Right. Now she's under Gaga management. So, again, get ready for the ultimate satanic Harajuku Barbie. You know what I mean? They're going to go extra in. Don't be surprised if you see a record with her. She already got a record with the bald-headed piece. And Rose, right? Who may or may not be a man. Then you got the other one, Gaga. So don't be surprised if you see her do a record with her. But hey, at least Akon getting paid, right?
The convict.
Right? So again,
his money hand over fist.
Hand over fist, man. It's not good, man. This thing is going south rapidly. Let me see. Your man T-Pain was endorsing Hannity's book, Cooning Out.
Yeah.
Saw that?
Yeah, he's running around with the Republicans.
Yeah.
Yeah. And all that.
But again, these guys, they don't have no scruples. It's like, if you want to make these rappers role models, you know, you open them up to being the influencing your child's life. Because the music industry is marketed 100% to children. It's not marketed to adults. They got a new video out with Snoop and Kid Cudi, and it looked just like Yo Gabba Gabba.
Yeah.
And
the homie was on Yo Gabba Gabba as a superhero.
Yeah, most definitely on there, trying to dress like a superhero. But when what's his name went on this show, he didn't do that. When the Roots came on the show, they didn't. I'm sorry, my son just woke up. When the Roots and the rest of them went on there, they didn't dress up in no costumes and all that. But again, that's his personal choice or whatever. But I'm just tired of seeing people that's supposed to have knowledge of themselves and being more than all that always cooling themselves out, man. You know. But again, this is aseer's opinion. You know what I mean? So I don't want to, get anybody, any of their fans up in an uproar. But what's real is real, man. If people are real fans to these people, they should start writing them real honest letters about the negative effects that they see going on. I mean, the positive stuff is what allegedly we see. Them, buying turkeys for dudes at Christmas, or, what all drug dealers do when they trying to, look like they for the hood, So, it's horrible. Excuse me.
You see, they got did you hear about this thing where there's a group of people in the UK trying to bring the Pope up on these charges when he comes to Britain in the next couple of days?
Yeah, I heard about that. And they got a whole bunch of people that's willing to take the fall for the Pope. But this is the same Pope that they got pictures of him in his Hitler Youth uniform. They got pictures of him throwing up the Zig Heil. You know what I'm saying? But they saying, oh, that's what he was younger. He was forced into that. All right. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Also, on an esoteric tip, whenever you see the Pope wear that red hat that looks like a cowboy hat, that's called his Saturn hat. The Saturn hat is usually worn when they're participating in Saturnalia rituals. Saturnalia rituals are the rituals that deify Saturn, a.k.a. Satan, a.k.a. Mephistopheles, a.k.a. Set in Comesian cosmology. Just like the red shoes he wears made by Prada. So, again, the devil really does wear Prada because he stay rocking them joints.
He rocking red Prada.
Mm-hmm. My man, it's funny. There's this banger, this gangbanger I know, and he stepped to me the other day. He was like, "Yo, man, I heard your show and all that. I was watching this shit with the Pope. Yo, it's like he a blood, man. I say, seeing him in red, what's up?" And I was like, basically, you know what I'm saying? He run his gang the same way. They got their own signs, their own symbols. Again, the official name of the Vatican is the Open, Friendly, Secret Society of the Vatican, so they're letting you know from the door, But yes, this is the world we live in, or the world that we're in on our way to the next one. You know what I'm saying?
And they had the all that rain in Brazil. And like a crazy,
I heard about
crazy
that.
rainstorm in Brazil. Like over 100 people died.
Yeah. Some people saying, see, the thing, too, about Brazil, people should acknowledge, Brazil has a nuclear program that's actually farther along than the Iran nuclear program that they are so scared about. You know what I mean? So, again, they're letting you know. Also, the Brazil economy is on the upsurge, is on the uptake. They're not going through none of that because they're not down, because they haven't been down with any of that other stuff, that Greece and Poland and all that is going through. So the United States is trying to really figure out what to do with them. That's what I also think that South America thing is leading to, some type of confrontation with Brazil. But I don't really see that popping off. You may not hear nothing about that till like mid-2011, because these dudes, they gotta have all their ducks in a row. So they gotta kind of destabilize the interior of that first before they can even do that. Also, they had a nuclear discussion today about nuclear proliferation, but they did it in Washington, which shows you who is at least is running it. Because usually nuclear things like that, or what they call armistice, is when they got to do it in a neutral setting. But because all of these countries and all of these dignitaries is coming here, it lets you know that who got the most nukes and who they're the most scared of is going to use them. And that is your mans in them. you know. But again, all of this is a part of the so-called transhumanist agenda that is also being perpetrated by members of the so-called New Age community. You know, all of these yogis and transcendentalists and all of these guys, all of that stuff is masked original people worship, original people culture worship, the cultures of ancient Babylon, Kemet, Kushite video, all of that stuff, and then just regurgitating, and then just giving it to it on a satanic plate. You know what I'm saying? So it's really our stuff just totally inverted and totally messed up. So that way we'll deal more with their stuff as opposed to dealing with what's intrinsically within us. You know. When we were talking about the whole, we were talking about these entities in hip hop. We had just built on, got some more information about that. There's a, for those occultists and people out there, there's a book called the Necronomicon, and this book is the book that people go to who are trying to become powerful through what they would call supernatural means. You know, a lot of people who read the book wind up becoming possessed by it. You know, as the story goes, they get possessed by it because of the entities that were invoked in the creation of this. Also, they speak of an entity in it called the 12th. The 12th in the Necronomicon's name is Umbra. And his deal is, they say he appears like a giant, you know, and he lets money rain down from time to time, to place on those people who bid him. But the deal is you have to give up the woman that you desire most, which is why you're seeing all of these cheating things are coming up in the media and all of that now, because this entity is manifesting through a lot of these guys. And a lot of the deals that these people have made, you know, they can only be with their families or the people they love to a certain degree, because at any given time, any of those people can be sacrificed if this entity so desires. You know, so all of these cheating people and all of these Hollywood and government people you see getting exposed, that's part of the ritual that they have to engage when they invoke this entity. So Umbra means shadow or black. And when you put, so Umbra is one, and then Ella, right, is another entity, is the let's say part of the entity that is blocking for that is blocking the true energy of righteousness of whoever is summoning it, right? So umbrella, right, in terms of how it's being used in modern society, means that you are, again, protected or under something, which then protects you from the so-called rain, you see? And we know that the rain is the man, right? But Rain Man also can be seen as Rotten Man or Araman. Araman is where you get the term Aryan from, but Araman in ancient Kushite Dravidian was represented as a jet black person. But again, you know, that's not what they're perpetuating it to be now. So again, we say all of that to say that when these guys create all of these songs, you know, where they're invoking this person, like I did a search and I found over 2,638 songs just about this one entity alone. You know what I'm saying? And from mad different artists, real quick, Eminem, Gucci Mane, Jamie Foxx, Peter, The Doors, Bob Dylan, T.I., that metal group Wasp, Tanya Tucker, Kenny Rogers, Elvis, Blackstone, Cherry, Savage, Del, the Funky Homo Sapien, the Eagles. Like it goes on. And they all basically have variations of the same lyric. So when you see brothers in the club and they talk about we making it rain, that's a way for the entity that is manifesting through these people to express itself. because they usually stand at the top of something, right? Meaning that they become taller than the rest of the people, a.k.a. giants, right? And then they pour the money out over everything because, again, the entity pours money out from on high from place to place to those people who are willing to give up the love to give up the woman that they love the most. And where do most of these dudes be making it rain at? Strip clubs, see?
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, becoming the place for these people to manifest or for the entity to manifest. So, real quick, I pumped it up. So, what we're then saying is that we as original people need to start deprogramming ourselves from this type of behavior. But in order to do that, you got to know first that you're even under the spell or under the habitation of that. So one of the things that I've been researching, is ways to deprogram or how to tell when someone is possessed, basically, Now, the thing is, these entities come in different categories. And these categories is usually based on G meaning gravitation, So there's G1, G2, G3, G4, G5, G6, G7. Just like you have the G7 or the G8 summits and all of that. This is where these entities coalesce with the physical host bodies that are running these governments, and this is where they get their marching orders to do what and what in the physical world. That's why in the UN, in The Hague, in any governmental building, there are Masonic, or we call it Freemasonic, parts of those buildings that the regular people don't know about, where these people go into their rituals and then they commune and then they get what they need popping and then they bring forth the agenda. That's why certain countries are not down with the UN. One, because any country down with the UN is a de facto country based on the fact that the IMF rules your currency, But the countries that are not part of the UN, you never really even hear about. Central African Republic, Djibouti, Mozambique, Mauritania. The biggest ship graveyard in the world is in Mauritania. And how it became a ship graveyard is that the ships didn't get docked there. What happened was, in the United States around the Depression, or after the Depression, when companies was losing money, what they would do is they would go and scuttle their ships and report to the insurance companies that their ships was taken or was gone, it disappeared and shit, so they can get the insurance money.
Are you sure it's right?
Yeah. So anybody that wants to see where one of these entities come from, you can type in star constellation into your search engine and type in parent star HD 189773. That's parent star HD. That's parent star HD 189733. Right? That will take you to the constellation of Valpecula. Valpecula is another way of saying Valpurgis. Valpurgis is an actual holiday in these devil type of people's culture called Valpurgis Day, and that is May 1st, also known as May Day. So when people are celebrating May Day, on the public view, they're doing one thing, but on the private view, there's a whole other thing where after all of the May Day celebrations are held during the day, at night, all of that energy is coalesced into Valpurgis rituals throughout the planet that basically give all of this energy back to this G5 class entity that we just exposed. So, this thing is a lot bigger than what it is we are even capable of fathoming, Yet, if we all put pieces of it together, we can then work together to at least come up with a definite way that we are going to all survive this. Because most of us don't even, as soon as we start talking about things like magic or history or otherworldly things, people think that you're not rational because that's how they've been trained, you know, especially original people, you know, especially the ones who think they're educated, you know. But then the same people who believe that somebody who died 2,000 years ago is going to come back in the same body from off a white horse cloud and bring them up into heaven and damn everybody else down, you know. You know, which, hey, may happen. You know, it could happen. You know, and I'm of the opinion that anything is possible. However, in order for something to be possible, you have to accept that it is impossible, and these people are not willing to do that. You know, at least when we talk about it. So, you know.
You want to go into the dream, come back home?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. So we're gonna play a joint, and we're gonna come back and open up the phone line. If you want to call in, the number is 347-637-1184. Just call in, put your hand up, and we'll try our best to get to every. We're gonna go into a joint, we're gonna go into another joint. Off of the 44 EP I put out, thanks to everybody. Thanks to everybody for downloading and supporting it. I got a lot of positive feedback on it, and we're gonna go into this joint off of it. You can get it, you download it. I'll put all the information up, but you can get it from my website and whatnot. You can email me if you want to get a copy of it, but I'll leave that to the end. So without further ado, we're gonna get into speaking crystals again. And when we come back, we're going to open up the phone line. So, once again, the number is 347-637-1184. And, you rock with Super Heru Radio.
That's what's up.
All right, so we're going to get into this.
Cool.
Breathe in and exhale slow, beholding a pale horse. While on the Isle of Patmos, Asiatic but not Hyksos, the man in my life, so I play, hey, ruin my mythos. In the West, I'm known as a Negro. In the East, I'm known as a hero. You can see the history, looking at the glyphs. The walls of Abydos has carvings of spaceships. It goes way deeper than the level they take it, but keep it on the low, homie, just like a basement. So tell me what they know about Europe or Yahuwah Orishas. Doggone, new things in the stars for so long, channeling the powers of the Egun. This is not a show tune, this to bring you MFs to your doom. Remember what's blowing in the wind. Don't get caught by the perspectives and philosophies of many men.
I am the baddest motherfucker out there.
My people built the pyramids, so many pyramids. Scientists don't know where they is, but where they is, underwater chemists. Mexico, Sudan, Japan. What I'm trying to say, yo, you was the man. The earth that's 29 million square miles of livable land, and the Sahara wasn't always sand. Globalization is the 21st century Marshall Plan. Think you better watch that, fam. Already got the euro, working on the mirror, writing all the comments to make Obama your hero. Resurrection, Bilal, Nimrod, and Nero. Truth come first like a zero. Rock of Gibraltar, that's the week. Search the records in Memphis, not Tennessee or Bleak. Sharif Abdul, that's the sheik. Feds symbolize the womb. Bury myself in the beat, now I'm in tune. At the end of the track, I'm exhumed. At the end of the track, I'm exhumed. I'm exhumed.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my joint.
Thank you.
The crystals.
Interesting. Before we go to the phone line, there was a brother who had a question in the chat room. He was asking, and I'm not sure if you built about it. I know we spoke about it a couple episodes ago. He was asking about the UFO on Erica's album, on her new album cover.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the
yeah.
behind it? I'm not sure if you spoke
Anytime
about it.
you saying what it's about, like
Yeah.
what it's about. Anytime Lil Wayne did a mixtape where on the album cover he was walking out flashing up the Trident sign, which people would know as the W sign or whatever. Mm-hmm. And he was flagging down some spaceships. Anytime you see these dudes using mechanical looking spaceships, that's some government shit. You know what I'm saying? Mechanical spaceships are always governmental or / like when people talk about gray aliens, when people talk about reptilians, when people talk about demons, they're talking about the same thing. Like, it's not like reptilians exist here and demons exist here and grays exist here. It's all the same thing. What makes them appear as one thing or the other is the person that they're appearing unto. You know what I'm saying? So, I read a book about programming called Delta. It's called Delta Programming. I forget the name of the author. But in it, they said there was a guy who they was working on where what the doctors did was they would have them tortured, right? And they would be in regular clothes, you know, in white coats and stuff. And they would then come into the room every so often. And when he would look at them, they would say, "Hey, we're aliens. Hey, we're aliens." That's all they would say. They didn't have on no costume or nothing. But after a while, whenever the dude saw them in particular, he saw them as aliens, like big gray-looking, you know, heads and all of that. But again, this is just them manipulating the perception based on the type of trauma-based programming they're giving you. So I'm not saying that Erykah Badu was traumatically programmed. What I am saying is that when you use imagery that you don't really understand or you think you understand and you don't get with people who you know are in your camp or around you who maybe can really give you a real explanation on that, then you're under some type of mind control because you believe that you're smarter than you really are and you're using these symbols and you think that because of what your intent is, that you're on top of it, you fully understand it. Anybody who tells you that they know exactly what happens to you when you die or exactly what's going on to you like that is pulling something over on you. Even when I speak of the afterlife and things like that, I'm speaking in it from the perspective of spiritual insight that I participated in, as well as the legacy or plethora of information left behind for us by people like, you know, Tahuti, you know what I mean, Pascal Beverly Randolph, Franz Bardon, whatever. So, you know, I really don't think she really knows what she really is playing with right now. And that's kind of scary. So I think all of us or any of her fans that's out there, whatever, really trying to, you know, holler at her and, you know, get her to look within because there's something going on and it's way bigger than the ego. You know what I mean? Like, I see what she thought she may have been doing, you know, shedding the material world and all that. But then when you are becoming anew, you know, you're doing something totally different because in the end, after she sheds all her clothes, she takes 2 steps, and the third step is when she gets clapped. So what you're saying symbolically is that when you reach your understanding to the point that you can shed all of your earthly vestiges, that's when you die. And that's whack. You know what I'm saying? That's whack. That's whack. That's like saying you can't fight City Hall. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. That's like saying that if you're really yourself, people are not really going to like you. So it's best to come back, to murder your old self and come back with fake appendages, you know? So I hope that is good for the brother.
So you got 708-746. You know, Superhead Radio. Peace.
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 For the Waters Cobra L here. Peace to y'all brothers, man.
Peace.
I had a quick question. Two questions. Brother Lucatiz, did you get that email that I sent you about the website with the Universal Indigo Children?
I got to check. I haven't been able to go on the computer. Did you send it today?
No, I believe I sent it yesterday. Yeah, when I was talking to you on Facebook. So.
Okay.
I had a question, because I haven't, really heard anybody really speak about this too much, but I had did a little bit of research with it. Have you brothers ever heard of Agenda 21 before?
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
It's just another program, again, or what they would call war game that they implement. It's just like Codex Alimentarius, West 84, all of that stuff is the same stuff, Lights Out Day, Project Blue Green, MK Naomi, which stands for Negroes are only momentary individuals. You know what I mean? They got a whole bunch of things. But what it really is to me, too, is a form of them speaking to us directly. Because when you read through that stuff, as whatever it is they're trying to purport in it, you know what I mean? There's a certain degree of consistency that if you read other reports like they read like that, like there's one called The Plans for a New American Century that they wrote like that, it's all basically saying the same thing. We're going to kill a bunch of people. We're going to harvest their organs. We're going to breed a whole new form of slave class people. And then we're going to get rid of everybody that don't want to be down with us. And then we're going to interface with technology, and then through the satanic ritual, we'll be able to transcend and then become cyborg super beings that will then take the same agenda to other realities and other worlds and do the whole thing all over again. Which, again, if you really think about it, the basis of every science fiction movie, the basis of every government intrigue movie, it's always the same thing. So as much as real as it is, we will make it real if we put it to the point that they have the ability to do it. Because to me, if they were going to do any of this stuff, it would have been popped already. Me personally, and really, if it was really like that, we wouldn't be able to read any of this stuff.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's the way I feel about it.
Sitting here talking about it, like we sitting here talking about all of this stuff. Imagine all the stuff we don't know yet. You know what I'm saying? And that's the stuff that is the most damaging. So the stuff that we can integrate and assimilate without getting caught up in basically becomes another means for us to connect the dots for those other people who are totally consumed in that. These end of the world people who believe that, everything is just going to stop.
Right.
Not going to be anything. Come on, man. Come on. When has anything ever stopped?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's just going to take another form, So,
right.
So I'm gonna look for that. I'm gonna check that email, and I'm gonna holler at you on the Facebook thing, man. Thanks for calling.
All right. Peace, brothers.
Peace, G.
Yeah. The Rock with Super Heru Radio. Peace.
Peace.
Peace. What's up with the brothers?
Peace. What's up, G?
All right, man. How y'all doing out there?
I'm good, King. How you doing today?
Maintaining, man. Maintaining. Man, I got a quick question real quick. I noticed you went in a little while ago in terms of, things that we can do to tap in. It's just basically, well, you didn't say it in this context, but basically my question was, what can we do, as people, to just basically raise our frequency? You see what I'm saying? Raise our vibrational frequency, enhance our melanin. What kind of spiritual things can we do? Because I've been rocking with this alkaline water, man, and my spirit just told me to take this stuff to a whole nother level. I just threw some magnets up in there.
Yeah, that's how you do it.
It's just, you know what I'm saying? Man, just throw some magnets up in here and just see what happens. You know what I mean?
How you feel?
Yeah, that's the kind of level we just gotta just do creative type stuff, man. You know, whether if it's with the herbals, with the greenery, you know, whatever. You know what I'm saying? So what can you suggest to the people out there? What can we do just to raise our frequency in these type of times? You know what I'm saying? Whether if it's dietary measures or just spiritual, just things. You know, make us a lot, meditation, things of that nature.
Okay, thank you for that. Thank you for that call, brother. Yeah, there's a lot of things you could do. One thing to do is begin to, one, detach oneself from the 365, 24-hour, 7-day-a-week calendar, because that calendar is not real. It does not exist as a physical thing. It is something, it is a lie agreed upon and force-fed down everybody's mouth. So the way you get off of that is to begin to research something called the 13-moon calendar. The 13-moon calendar is based on a 28-day cycle, which is the same 28-day cycle that goes with the woman menstruation.
Right.
So what that does is it takes you out of the frame of natural, or what they would call artificial time, because it puts you back into a space-time matter continuum, meaning that you are not functioning under the eluded perception that there is actually 31 days in a month. You see what I'm saying? That alone, first and foremost, if at the end of if every 28 days is the end of your month, then that means that you're 5 days ahead of everybody else who starts their month on the 31st. See what I'm saying?
Right.
Okay. So what that does is, when you begin to do the knowledge to that, you begin to chart yourself or bring yourself back into the natural magnetosphere of the planet, because that's the planet's cycle. That's why the Muslims follow the lunar calendar. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
That's why any farmer going to tell you, you don't plant nothing in the day. You plant it at a certain time at night. You see what I'm saying? Because what is planted in the dark brings forth in the day. So it's the same thing in terms of being 28 to 31. You being on the 28th day is naturally basically projecting you ahead in the future 4 or 5 days. This is a form of quantum physics that they're not building on. You can do that, and you, let's say, set up your bill payment cycle to something like that. You may wind up with more dough towards the end of the second month that you're doing it. Because you're not basing your money scheme based on when the money is coming in. You're basing it on the true time in which you're supposed to get it. You see? It's a perception. So that, coupled with that type of mentality, coupled with trying to figure out what entities may or may not be inhabiting you as an individual, one way to do that is, again, meditate. You know, if you find it hard to concentrate in your meditation, or not concentrate, but if you find it hard to be in meditations where you have problems visualizing things, then what you got to begin to do is start taking like cleansing baths. You know, once a month, take a bath in goat's milk. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, drink alkaline water with magnets in it or crystals. Start walking around with crystals. You know what I'm saying? Because crystals take on the properties of the person that's wielding it. So that's why if you buy crystals, let's say from a store, you need to wash them off, because you don't know what that crystal or what energy was on that crystal before you got it.
Right.
You don't want that to become part of you. You know. So there's a lot of things you can do along those lines. But the best things to do are the things that you kind of just do spontaneously, like what you did with the magnets in the water.
Yes, sir.
That's spirit moving you to move in a certain way, you know. And we will find that when you do more things like that, listen more to stuff like that, when you start doing your scholastic stuff in terms of like reading and researching and stuff, what you'll find is that you retain a lot more, because you're not reading it with material eyes, you're reading them with spiritual eyes, you know.
Right. What about with the herb, man? What's your take on the herbals? You know what I'm saying?
Like weed?
Yeah.
Like smoking weed?
Yes, sir.
Oh, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Okay.
I don't think there's anything wrong with smoking herbs. I think that if herb is something that, again, goes out the ground. So if weed is a herb, that means, if weed is a drug, then that means lettuce could be a drug. That means carrots could be a drug, you know what I'm saying? Because it's something that's grown out the ground. It's not like you put something into it. Yet it's grouped up under with all these other drugs because the devil don't want nobody to be happy and don't want to have nothing that's going to have people open their mind up naturally. He wants you to do it with an artificial drug like Vicodin or Percocet or something like that, because he knows that they don't already put demonic entities in those things. So when you're going up, not going up. Yeah, Oxycontin and shit like that, Ambien. Yeah. Like what kind of medicine you take to make you go to sleep, but then make you get up in the middle of the night, drive your car somewhere, and come back home and not you even thinking that you did that? That's why I started doing shit then. The Ambien shit. Like, what's up with that, man?
Right.
Adderall. There's another one called Adderall that's doing the same shit. You know, it's making people walk away, go, like literally like go to the store, shop, do things that they would do. But again, most of the people using this stuff, most of the people using those types of prescription drugs is white folk. And remember, white folk are on a 29-hour cycle. You see? And because their molecular structure is absent of pineal function, higher pineal function, that means that there's at least 6 hours in the day that they're not asleep or awake. 5 hours in the day that they're not asleep or awake. Whereas me and you, we have a 24-hour cycle, which is in tune to the planet. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
These people got a 29-hour day cycle in their every day. So then when they taking drugs on top of that, there's a point where in the day where they could literally be anything or anybody, and they would never know. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So those are some of the things we could definitely do, man. Thanks for that call, brother.
Peace, y'all.
Peace, man. That was a good question. 925.
Hey, what's going on?
Peace.
Hey, the last caller mentioned something about weed and marijuana, and I kind of did a little research on that myself. And have you ever come across a guy called Rick Simpson?
Called who?
Rick Simpson, R-I-C-K, Simpson,
yeah.
like OJ? Yes.
Well, yeah, he's Say again?
I'm sorry. Well, you were getting ready to say something. I didn't mean to cut you off.
I want to hear what you were saying.
Well, I was just going to say is Rick Simpson was this cat out of Canada, this old white guy, who claims to have completely cured all forms of cancer, lupus, hemorrhoids, anything involving mutating or, damaged cells by taking hemp and making like the thick gel oil out of it. And he says if you eat it internally, it'll cure your leukemia, like all cancers, all the ones like the super deadly ones to, skin cancer. He said he had like a cancer on his face, and he put the oil on a Band-Aid and put it on his face, and 2 weeks later he peeled the Band-Aid off, and the tumor came off like a scab. Like no tumor. And he came in and went to his doctor and cussed his doctor. What are you talking about? You put me all on these drugs and doing all this stuff to me. When I cured it in like a week, I have scars on my face when you dug into me and tried to cut the fucking cancer out. And the doctor was like, I can't say anything about that. Get out of my office. Like, he knew what the deal was. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so I was wondering. So, I mean, because if this is real, my uncle just died of cancer. Is this something that we should be, kind of blowing up a little more so that people understand what's going on with it?
Yes. This is exactly why they don't want nobody to have it like that. That's why they don't know when to legalize it. People don't realize that Washington used to grow herb. And his plantation, or the plantation he grew up on that was owned by the black man, Barry Cameron, they grew hemp. And the way that they grew their hemp was the old way, you know what I mean? The way that a lot of the natives, you know what I mean, grew it, which is, again, this is before pesticides and all this type of stuff. So when they was growing it back then, the flag, their first flag is made on this stuff. You know what I mean? They sell hemp milk in the supermarket. But it's
for sure.
The weed, right? But it's when you take it with the weed. Like, weed gets rid of asthma. You know what I'm saying? I knew a brother that was crazy asthmatic, you know what I mean, with the inhalers and all of that. Man, this dude never smoked a joint. I was like, yo, man, let's smoke a joint. This dude smoked a joint. He ain't never had the asthma again. That's how I know these dudes is fronting with it, you see? But what they want to do is they wanted to try to create government, or what they call government-sponsored medical marijuana, you see? Which, again,
it's going to have all the medicine out of, sucked out of it. And
right.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's just THC. It's not, you know what I mean, the nutritional values of it. You know, that's why weed grown in soil, to me, is better than weed grown in a tank. You know what I mean? Not saying that the water is not good, but anybody who smoked weed, the difference will tell you the difference is that the weed that comes out, the hydroponic weed, as they call it, when you smoke that is, it gives you a good high and stuff, but it's lighter. Like it's like a lighter feeling, you know. Whereas when you smoke, let's say like what the Rasta smoke, the black herb, the yardas and stuff, that has a more grounded thing. So you high, but you're not like high with like bugging out, paranoid like that. It's more of like an internal thing. That's the difference between growing it in the dirt with the soil, which represents dark matter. You know what I'm saying? And based on the soil's oxygen and the nutrients in it, the oxidation of how it grows is better for you internally, you know. But again, same way that we'll say this and show and prove this, Sadie talk about it, Bio African has talked about it, you know, but there are people that are against it based on the modern perception of what it is, you know, saying that because, yeah, I'm talking about not spraying and none of that. But the modern perception is that it's a drug, and it had to be marketed. We became a drug between 1921 and 1935. After that, from 1935 to 1945, it became a government thing where they were experimenting on it. And then from 45 to 55, it became the worst thing in the world. See what I'm saying? But 70s came around, and then they needed it to get everybody else into the hard, the whack shit. The 60s and the 70s came in. They got people, they needed weed as what they call the gateway, see, to the other hard shit that really had nothing to do with herb. And then herb got lumped in with all of that. You know what I mean? Same way they do black folk. You know, so essentially, yes, we need people to begin to not only corroborate, you know, put these facts out there about it, because they already know. The medical establishment is in bed with the government. And again, your president has already taken over the auto industry. He's already taken over the banking industry. He's already taken over the medical industry now. Mm-hmm. No, you know what I'm saying? So the spin on it is that it's bad for you. But it's bad for you based on the traumatic stuff that they got these people hopped up on. You know what I mean? To the point where drugs was actually declining in the United States between the years of 94 to 2000. It was actually on a decline, you know. But what they had to do is they had to then lump weed in as the main drug. So it's not about you smoking weed now. It's about you are in possession of it, and you go to jail for holding it. You don't go to jail for smoking it because they can't prove that it's a drug, because it's not. It's
funny you mentioned that. What I was going to say is tying that back to Rick Simpson is he had a federal case on him, and they said that he was trafficking narcotics. And he's like, well, how am I trafficking this if I'm not selling it? I'm giving it all away. And they had to drop the entire federal case on him because he didn't sell, you know, one stem of the shit. He was making it and giving it away for free. And so I think like a year later, the feds came in and took all his plants or whatever, so he just grew them back again. It's like a tug-of-war. It's like the feds come in and take all his shit, he grows it all back, and he's like giving it away for free. I'm like, damn. You know, this whole white dude is really defying the stereotypes of his, you know.
Yes, but again, you can't break a law to enforce. As soon as the feds come and steal the weed, unless you see them burn it, if you see them put it in a bag and take it somewhere, they're going to take it somewhere to sell it. These dudes are selling the same weed, compensating from these people. You know what I'm saying? Like police.
Yeah, my uncle was a cop. I know about all of that shit. He's the richest one in the family right now. I'm not giving away no names, but yeah.
Come on, man. All these dudes is on the take, man. Everybody smoke herb. They just don't talk about it. And the ones that do talk about it are always ostracized because of the fact that they got to toe the line and act like they don't, because nobody's real here, you know. So thanks for that fact, brother, you know.
Oh, yeah, no problem.
Stuff like that is really on point.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I haven't. Hello?
361. Super Heru Radio, please.
Peace. I guess not.
We got 314. Yeah, Super Heru Radio, please. Peace.
Hey, guy, what would be the, since you're on marijuana, what would be the actual use of it before it became the misuse of it? Like, is there a difference between ingesting it like in a food product as opposed to smoking it?
Thank you for calling. That's a good question. No, I mean, it depends on the property of the person really who's making it too. You know, like some people can really know how to cook with it. You know, some people can make it into butter, make it into mad different things, you know. But then some people who may not know how to cook like that, they'll use it, and you won't really get the effects of it. But smoking herb, again, that goes directly to the lungs, and then from the lungs it's going back up to the brain. The smoke goes into the lungs and then gets blown out, while all the THC, as it's being blown out, goes right up into the brain. You know what I mean? And then the THC, what they don't tell people is that it stimulates pineal function. You know, there's another form that there's a book called DMT, The Spirit Molecule, by a guy named, I think, Richard Strauss, something like that. But it's called DMT, The Spirit Molecule. DMT stands for dimethyltryptamine. And any tryptamine is something that's going to bring you up, you know what I mean, to what they would call altered state of consciousness. However, an altered state of consciousness is what usually happens when you're doing stuff like, you know, heroin or stuff like that, because that stuff, the way that you go about using it dictates what it does to you. See what I'm saying? Whereas herb, see what I'm saying? Like I know rosters that's been smoking herb, like 80-year-old, 90-year-old rosters smoking herb look great health. You know, smoking it in blunts. These niggas ain't got cancer. They don't have none of that. So how they getting it? You know what I mean? But youngsters getting it. But what I'm trying to say is that any society that rules over an indigenous people has to alter the medicinal things that those people use for themselves and dummy it down or bastardize it where it becomes illegal. Straussman, right? Yeah, the book is called DMT, The Spirit Molecule by Richard Strassman. Strassman. So what we use something for, the same way we talk about weed, we could apply it to things like religion. Like Heru is Christ, right? But in modern day society, his story is Jesus' story. You know what I'm saying? But Jesus' story is the collective story of the black man of today. If you really do the knowledge, you know.
Reference to.
Say that again, brother.
Like the 16 crucified saviors, that book can reference to referencing as far as
right.
Right.
The historical Jesus, mythical Christ, all of that. We are the archetype of that time or that energy or entity, you know. Yet we do not see the correlation in anything because we don't open our consciousness in any form. Whereas the people who open in their consciousness to all these different forms are the same people that's oppressing us. So they already know. They know that if you smoke enough weed, where you might be able to go, which you may be able to channel down in the form of music or writing or whatever. And then you may find, God forbid, you find a way to do it without them. You see? So And remember, in terms of hip-hop, people always smoke weed and stuff, but up until Cypress Hill, weed wasn't a staple in the rap game. After Cypress Hill, it was over. And you know what I mean? So really, we're also talking about marketing, how something is marketed to a certain group of people, even though the so-called slave master think it's doing one thing, it's doing something totally different. You know, it's actually brought us back to a point where we fuck channel. Right. Right.
What's your opinion on this whole thing with the? Myself recently, I've been like been able to like almost predict the future in a way. You know, like whether it's like calls I get at work. I pretty much can pick up on it, whatever it is. My wife, I can pretty much read her thoughts more so ever than any time before. How does this relate to the judgment and how the house of God, so-called the beast, the Catholic Church is being, I guess, fronted right now? How's it going to relate to the black churches, the smaller mosques, the smaller synagogues, the Hebrews and Demona, the whole Church of God? What's your whole view on that?
Well, the way I'm looking at it is that, like, if you read the Bible, it says the elect of God will rise above those who have shunned his name, right? So that would mean that within all of the different schools of thought throughout the whole world or whatever, there are going to be people within all of those schools of thought who kind of look at things the way that we look at it, Like, just because we original people and we black with a certain understanding don't mean that other people don't know that the black man and the black woman and what they really represented are, who are not Caucasian, who actually are praying for us to do that, Like the Kurdish people worship a god named Malik Toth, who is representative of a blue black man, So you have people who have different pockets of consciousness all over the world that are actively praying for us every day to get it together, And then within all of these different sects, like I said, you have those who are the so-called elect, people who can look past the shit and see the commonality and love and everything, despite the whole thing, So you'll have Buddhist people, you'll have Hindu people, you have black people, you have all these different people coming behind the same thing, but they are all, at one time or another, were part of different systems that's there to keep everybody apart, So the mind reading thing is really just you expanding your consciousness. That's another form of a thing called the Merkaba van. People call it Merkaba, but it's actually Merkaba van. And the Merkaba basically is, I can't explain it. It's like
the Ka and the Ba?
Well, yes and no. Yes, Mer, right, M-E-R would mean light, which then we could translate to mean black, which then would mean more, right? Ka would be spirit, which then we could translate to soul, which then would represent the true self. The Ba would represent the body, which would represent the material form, which would then represent matter. And then the Van, or Van, would represent travel or transport or transcend. So in that, the Merkaba van is a divine light vehicle that we can connect with that allows us to expand our consciousness into the higher realms, which basically transforms into we would see as like counter-rotating fields of light. In the Bible, this is called the wheel within the wheel, or Ezekiel's wheels. Anybody that wants to learn about the Merkaba van, read the book of Ezekiel, because it tells you that basically is a blueprint book. That's the oldest book, other than the book of Enoch in the Bible, and that's the book that tells you how to transmute your body into a light vehicle called, again, the Merkaba van. And we see the image of the Merkaba van every day. We just don't know that that's what it is. We see it as something we would call the six-pointed star, the Star of David. But that essentially is what happens. It basically evolves around you when you're attuned and expand your consciousness to the point to accept the possibilities or the infinite possibilities of the creation of the universe that is symbolized by the Most High. So when you expand your consciousness to ways that, like me and my queen, she'll say certain things and I'll answer her before she answers, and vice versa. These type of occurrences are evidence of the fact that you have now transcended language, or that we are in the process of transcending language altogether. Sometimes if you've ever been in a relationship, you get a lot more done when you don't talk. Especially when it comes to dealing with things like children or cleaning or whatever. Sometimes you get into a rhythm and y'all just work in tandem like that, and then to the point you realize, damn, we went through mad hours and ain't even say nothing. Or that's because they're talking. You see this in evidence whenever you see two children that maybe like one or two that's not really talking, but when you get them together on the playground, they have a whole kind of communication, and they ain't utter a word. This is what we need to get back to, because there's too many niggas talking anyway. But thank you for calling, my brother.
Yes, sir. I appreciate that.
Indeed.
Once again, we come to the end of another episode. It's like 2 hours.
Yes, we have. That shit just flew by, son. I want to thank everybody for supporting Super Heru Radio. I support and everybody that is supporting themselves when it comes to knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. I salute everybody, your families. I also appreciate those people and anybody that feels free to want to give a love donation to Super Heru Radio for all the things we're doing. Again, we're working to get this book out. So if everybody could, spare $1. If everybody that's listening or knows somebody donate $1, you know what I'm saying, to go to PayPal and donate $1 to Super Heru Radio, we can get a lot more product out to y'all and a lot more information and a lot more poignant and true information that you can use in your everyday life, not just stuff that really just has an entertainment value or stuff that, people are just doing the grandstand and sound smart. Mm-hmm. And again, our products, how we bang on the devil is through our works, our creativity, because that is what's going to win the war more than anything else. If you don't have no imagination, if you don't have no creativity, if you don't have no belief in anything higher than, smoking weed or flipping shorts, or what dude is going to be your sponsor, like, we got to get our priorities straight, original people, man. We got to really, really, if we're going to get on the bike, we got to ride it. We can't, just think that your man Barry and Michelle is going to make it happen for you. So, again, anybody that wants to donate, again, $1. If everybody donate $1, it would be awesome, because we can really we got some good stuff lined up and ready to come out. But, we balling with a budget, so support the hood, support the homies. That's at www.superheru Radio, www.aseer.com, www.sagasar, right? Ali?
sagasarali.blogspot.com.
.blogspot.com. That's what's up, man. Anybody wants to holler? Indeed. Anybody wants to holler at us, hit us up on the Super Heru Radio site or any of the email addresses, mine or my brother's. My brother, it's been another great show. I really am glad that we're doing it together. Our ancestors is really working with us.
Keep going. Bring the light to the people in the best way that we can. So once again, at the end of every episode, I always say I thank you, my brother, for, doing this with me. And, of course, I thank all the people for, sitting down with us for another 2 hours. For the 11th time, this is our 11th episode, So in the coming episodes, for all the listeners, we're going to definitely have some good things for y'all, give away. So, please.
Don't come.
Word.
And again, this Super Heru Radio, holler at us. We appreciate all the support, any donations you can. Definitely going to use it to uplift all of humanity, man. So again, big up to everybody that's in the struggle, And we're going to win it, man. The Syndicate is not going to win. Peace.
Not at all. Peace.